If you
What?
see this, she's not even.
Yeah, she's not gonna lose anything about this day.
This is just the septic pumping. Oh my god, I can't update the list. There's 62 people that still haven't pumped, but these people that started, they have pumped, but I don't have their paperwork.
Okay.
So, and I guess we're gonna just wait at least until like the 12th or the 14th, because that will be 30 days from February 12th, because we still need to get some of this hauler's paperwork.
Right.
So I don't know, the list will probably be around 50-ish.
Okay.
So
Well, it's not bad,
we
all the ones
decided-
we had out there. Brent did not pump?
Who?
Really?
Mhm. That's why, I don't know, like, are we just forwarding that list over to the,
They didn't pump right down here?
are we just forwarding this list to the magistrate, or are we gonna send out one more final notice? I guess that's
We'll
something we have
talk
to
about it.
decide on.
We'll talk about it at the board meeting.
So even like Mrs. Hurt, she has 2 properties, so, but we only have one sheet. So, yeah, I mean, again, whether or not the haulers just didn't send us some of the paperwork.
Well, that's what we need to try to do, is reach out to the haulers and say, listen, you need to get your paperwork.
Yeah, we
Well,
told him about doing
we
that.
talked to him, he came in, I thought he came in and said he pumped those 2. But
You
anyway,
could have, but we might not just have the
Right.
paperwork.
This man's dead.
Fine, how are you?
You're right, that house, I think, went on, short sale.
Yeah, he's dead. Yeah, I can tell you, I know for a fact he is.
Did you give me one?
Oh,
She,
Come on.
she didn't give me one.
yeah, you didn't get one.
Yes, I did.
You did? Oh, I sent it to you, sorry.
Hey,
I
John, my
wanted a
speaker
pretty
just went
one.
out.
Like a
Sure,
pretty
sure.
one.
Thank you.
Sorry, if Mickey would let me copy this, I'd be
You
fine.
can talk now.
Okay.
I'll be fine. Hey, I need to see you sign something.
Oh, I'm sure you do. Never fails.
Ouch.
Wake up.
You can do it again.
Assault on a police officer.
Oh, really sorry.
Yes.
Where'd you go?
Brackenwood, New York.
Oh, okay.
When
Uh,
Here,
President's
and
Day
just sign
that
these
Monday,
again before you leave too.
My
The
sister goes
January
Sunday
stuff.
night. So she's off one day. And she's off. Yeah, she just started at the end of the year last year again. And so she got a new set of clothes for Christmas. And she's like, oh my God, I want a new clothes. And I was like, all right, so we went to Briarwood. It was, and the guy's like, hey, the 5 doors in the back is open. I said, oh, the 5 doors that were on the other side side of, from the west course that you guys get rid of, is yet. He is $11 to golf those by.
Hi,
Good
Joe.
evening, good evening, Bobby.
How you doing, Mike?
Okay. And
How's she do?
she did really good.
Because you do really good.
I have to set my alarm for 4:45.
I played.
Otherwise,
a long
I
time
might
ago,
not be-
and
Based on
softball
this week.
swing really screwed up my golf swing,
4:45,
vice
why?
versa.
It will.
Well, just to get ready,
And
you
so,
know, I like
yeah,
to,
once I quit playing
oh,
softball, I started
look over
golfing.
stuff and make
Oh, to
sure.
get here and,
But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
okay,
running
yeah.
to Dad's house, and that was about it. And then, so when I was down there at his house last March, I golfed a couple times.
Can you attend?
Yeah.
I knew you were
I
gonna-
forgot.
We have more time now, job on that. You know, I tried to take 2 golf courses on my way home.
it's just a top copy of the
So I
bunch, right?
contacted them.
Oh, there's one. Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
contacted
right?
them,
Yeah.
and I was my next thing.
And if you're, I'm thinking those in the back, but they're not being reconciled because, we went to the auditor.
It's not like
You got her.
So they're.
No, she got
really,
good.
really,
And then,
and
I was like,
reconcile them,
yeah,
because
I'll
she's
do
the
it.
takes, and they
I
have to
said,
down. So if you are interested in seeing them, they're back here.
Okay.
They are, but they're not, they don't have the detail.
Not so
So
pure.
I'm just kind of.
Is that some of the financial stuff that we got from the meeting?
Did
Is
you
that
want mine to
included in
read?
that?
I don't know.
The,
From that, okay.
I think so.
Yes,
I
I
saw
doing
this
the
messy.
audit that it was,
Yeah.
wasn't,
She'll be all right.
wasn't down,
She'll be all right.
because we pay, you know how you put something in the car, you pay the following month?
Yeah,
Wasn't recognized that it was paid on that piece, that was the case for that, you need to balance it out.
Oh, me too.
Otherwise, it's messy. Yeah, so that's, so when you see, it's when you're
Get paid.
yeah.
So, something needs to show that it's balanced out every month. So, that's
That's
what
the
I
number
have
we
to do.
want.
Yeah.
That's after we vote on it.
Yeah, all right.
I always forget to put them all down.
It's cool playing the big course that you've never played before.
You can't play as well as you want
No, it's pretty cool though.
to. Yeah.
Like when we went over and played Black Rock.
Mhm.
Oh, are you ready to start?
Well, whatever you guys. I didn't want to
We're
interrupt.
talking golf, man.
No, you, the floor is yours.
Let's thanks for pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Barlow,
Here.
Mr. Cockle,
Here.
Mr. Lowe.
All right, this time we will be accepting public comments. If you want to join us today by telephone, you can call in at 832-831-2424 with the ID number of 280672. Okay, any public comment? No public comment? Okay then. Supervisor's comment.
Go ahead, Brandon. Doesn't matter. It's up to me. I have no real comments now.
Well, I want to thank the guys that come out and help on the roads with the trees and the ice in the head. It's a pretty challenging time, so I appreciate everybody that got out there and helped us with that. Thank you, Sherry, and her police department, because they were out there too, assisted us with some of these issues also. All right, no other supervisor comment. We move on to the minutes to the February 1st, 2022. Did everyone have an opportunity to review the minutes?
Yep.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as read?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Treasurer's report for February 2022. Did everyone have an opportunity to review the treasurer's report?
I have.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
And I'll move. So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Thank you. All right, the invoices or expenses, the invoices from 2/2/22 to 3/1/22, and this is retroactive. Did everyone have an opportunity to review those invoices?
I have.
I have a motion to approve the invoices.
I'll make a motion.
And I'll second that
All
motion.
in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, the next one is gonna be our payroll, for 1/30/22 to 2/12/22, retroactively. Did everyone have an opportunity to review the payroll?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yes, I have.
Yeah, me too.
Do I have a motion to approve the payroll?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, payroll for 2/13 through 2/26, that's also retroactive, did everyone have time to review that?
Of course I did.
Yes, you did. I have a motion to approve the payroll.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
And I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Good. All right, the next thing is the police report.
February 2022, police department worked 287.5 hours. We put 1,757 miles on the cars, used 146.5 gallons of gas, answered 18 911 calls, PSP answered 7 calls. We wrote here in Liberty, 16 traffic citations, 8 written warnings, 5 faulty equipment cards. Out in Freedom Township, we worked 25 hours out there, had 1 911 call, wrote 34 traffic citations, and 5 warnings. In Highland Township, we worked 25 hours, had 5 911 calls, wrote 12 traffic citations, and 5 warnings. Officer Rusin yesterday, the last day of the month out in Highland, was doing some speed work and actually got a DUI about 2:30 in the afternoon, and also got a bunch of drugs and drug paraphernalia out of the car, so kudos to him for that. Some of the other highlights, we still haven't gotten our tasers that we ordered back in November.
That's crazy.
And I spoke to the guy today. I called him last week and he never returned my call. I did get to talk to him today, and he said that due to supply chain issues, they are running behind, and he does not have a time frame for when we can expect delivery of them. But he assured me that since we placed our order back in November, that we are close to the top of the list, and that they will post orders as they came in, supposedly.
That was 2 of them.
2, yes. So, well, just keep at it, you know. I'll keep calling them every so many weeks and asking them where my tasers are. Car 2 is currently in the shop at Hagerstown Ford, having a new transmission put in it. I believe Vicki talked to the guy today about that, and it is supposedly shipped and on its way from Oklahoma, and they'll get it in as soon as they can when it gets in here.
No supply chain issues?
No supply chain issues for that part. You never know what else they might get into. In accordance with the police policy manual, we purged videos that we didn't need anymore that were 60 days old. That'll be probably every month now. And we are in the process of applying for a grant for a new police cruiser. It's federal grant money, and Officer Rusin found that grant, so I'm getting some numbers for him, and then he's actually going to do the grant and submit that grant sometime before the end of the month this month. We also approached Highland Township and Freedom Township just to ask them if they would each give us a letter on their letterhead signed by their supervisors saying that they support us in applying for the grant, since we do provide police protection to them. Hopefully that'll give us a little bit of an edge there from that class that I had gone to, and from what Bruce was saying, that anytime you can get collaboration between several different municipalities or entities, that it raises the stock of your grant application a little bit. So we'll see, maybe we can get a bunch of free money.
Anything else?
That's all I got.
Anyone have any questions for the chief?
Real quick, just shooting from the hip, so to speak.
Yep.
Mileage, you got 1757,
Mm-hmm.
and your gallons of gas. How does that compare to what we were doing before we picked up Highland, Freeland? Is it?
The mileage probably went up a little bit, and so did the gas. I can go back and look for you. Off the top of my head, I can't.
I'll
tell
come
you.
down and see you. We'll look at it.
Yeah.
You don't have to print
Yeah.
anything out. But
No,
I'm
but
just
I'll look at
curious as to what the cost
Yeah,
for those kind of things are.
I'll look at it.
Okay.
That'll be easy enough to go back and
Yeah,
pull those reports.
I'll stop down in the morning.
Yeah.
You gonna be here?
Yes, I
Okay.
didn't think about that for a minute, but yes.
You gonna
I
have
plan to be.
leftover false nuts?
If, negative, not for me. If everything goes well and I go to sleep tonight, wake up in the morning, yeah, I'll eat everyone.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, the zoning, report, they had, let me see here. A 26 by 38 home building permit was issued. A storage unit 50 by 52 permit was issued for that one. Second chance operation, also applied for a permit up in Harwell Valley. And then, a 6-foot fence permit was, also applied for a total of $360 in land use permits for the month of February. Okay, at this time, I want to call an executive session to discuss a couple of issues in the zoning that we need to talk to, the supervisor needs to talk about before we go forward with making decisions. So I'm going to close the regular meeting at the time at 6:10, and we're going to go to executive session.
Glad to know you.
Before I had mine done, we would go shopping. And I'd say, oh man, Jake, I gotta find a chair. She said, you and your knees.
Yeah, she did, right?
How do you like it?
So,
I didn't wish it on her, but she's one okay.
good, I'm glad.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna rub this into her, but wait till I see her.
Why?
My mom had hers done at the end of January.
Yeah.
Okay, like, I think the 23rd, it was a Tuesday.
Remember you told me she was getting it done.
Okay, so hers got pushed back 2 or 3 weeks because she got COVID. So I told her, I said, can you do those exercises religiously?
Man, you gotta.
I said, because the stronger you get your legs, the further you go in, the easier it's gonna be when you come out from, because it's gonna be nothing but pain for you. And she kind of so they sent her the same day they did it.
I can't believe they do
We
that.
had it done. Yeah, she had it done at like, I think they took her at about like 10 in the morning, and I thought we walked out of there at 5.
She went in and I got it too.
Yeah.
I called her and said, how you doing? She said, I'm home. I said, you're home?
Yeah.
You're home. Oh, she was feeling good the first day. And the block didn't hurt.
Well, mom's blocked and we're off for like two days. I think I told her it would be good for about 2 days.
Chickies was the next afternoon. Well, she
So she's like, I want this contraption for her to put on. It's a cuff that she puts around her leg, and then it hooks to an ice bucket.
They sent Chickie home with one.
Well, I bought
Man,
one.
is that thing nice?
Isn't it? But I bought one because I had one for my ACL tear, and I was like, come on, you need this.
They are nice.
After I started
I didn't
using
have that.
after I started using that on her, she's like, oh my god, this is great. And we kept ice on it for, other than when I went to bed. That's the only time she really didn't have fresh ice on it, but it was cold all the time. I think that helped. So anyhow, she had hers done now. It'll be 6 weeks because I take her tomorrow for her checkup, for a 6-week checkup. She's driving. She already has her bend and dangle in it to 120.
That's good.
She only used a walker and a cane for maybe a week and a half. Like, I was walking with her because they told me, you make sure she walks normally. As much as it might hurt, don't let her go 1 foot.
Yeah,
Make
that's
her
how you
make
take
her do her normal gait.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so I'm making her do her normal gait and everything. And for the first 2 steps, she would do the 1-1, and then after that, man, she was like off to the races. I said, Mom, why are you carrying your walker? Do you realize that you're picking it up and carrying it? She said, well, it's slowing me down. I'm like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me. She walked into PT 2 days after her surgery with the walker, and the PT guy looks at her, and he looks at me, and he goes, did she just have that done? I said, yeah, like 2 days ago, and she's my next appointment.
That'd be
He
good.
goes, seriously? And I was like,
do.
damn. And he measured bend in her leg and everything, it's already up to 105.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Is it, you know Tammy Thompson down here? She did like 2 therapy sessions.
Yeah.
And I had to do my whole life. And boy, I mean, oh my God, what that.
Oh, I know.
God.
Well, the first day they put Mom on the bicycle, she was like,
Oh, the first up and over the, they're like, go harder. I was like, holy shit.
yeah.
But I did it. I
Yep.
was good with you.
That's
Did
what
it.
she did. And I was like, Mom, I said, I know it hurts a little bit.
A little bit.
Then she found up her pain pills, right, after she quit taking them. And she goes, oh, guess how many pain pills I took this whole time? I'm like, how many? She was 7. I was like, we can't do that. Because I know her husband was in here, and he was like, oh my God.
Oh,
He is.
she cried. She cried.
I
told you.
So much pain.
Oh, she was in so much pain afterwards. Yeah, she had her icing on here. And she's like, oh my God. I said, told you. And I don't think Mom's plays bad first. I mean, I heard. But
Yeah.
I don't think I heard it that bad.
Mom's pretty high tolerance.
So do I.
So do I. When you have something like this.
I don't know if I told you or not, there was a lady who came into physical therapy when I had mine done. She was probably 50. She was younger. And they went to bend her leg and she started crying. She said, I can't. And Mark was there at the time and he said, I have to do this. You've got to bend that leg. He said, well, freezing position. She said, I can't. So they had to walk out. She never came back. I saw her. She walks to the frame with the cane.
Oh, yeah.
And she said, she got for me. Yeah, it's like, man, they got to bend it. They got it up.
I told Mom, I said, look, I said, you need to do work dinner. I made her. Like, I stayed with her for a week. I was off work for a whole week and I stayed with her. And I would make her do her exercises if it was 2 or 3 times a day. I'm like, no, bend it further.
Well, I had Bobby push on mine. It's like, Bobby, you gotta stop, because he gets a little rough.
Yeah. And she was sitting in the recliner watching TV and I'm like, bend your leg. She was like, I said, just bend it. Just, I said, it doesn't matter that we've already done your exercises, just, pull back. And she's like, okay, all right. And
I can squat with mine now.
nice.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I could for a
Yeah.
time, but I see she got me yesterday, because she
Tries
tries
to golf. Has she been trying golf this
Oh, I'm
summer?
sure. Yeah, I think she'll be okay to that.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and Mom, I'm kind of, summer's a blessing in disguise. She's going over to hers Ridge. Wells going to give her son. I said, Mom, ask me about the Silver Sneaker program. And she comes home and she goes, oh my God. She goes, I can do it for free.
Now, if kind of secondary, how old your mom?
77.
What's her secondary insurance, you know?
I'm not
See,
sure.
ours won't pay for it.
Hers will, apparently.
You know, we have Western United Life.
Yeah, I don't know what she's got, but she said, nope, I'm going in and doing it. She goes, it's fun to go over and meet people. I said,
Now, where does she live?
Philmont Road.
Oh, I know it is.
Gettysburg.
Yeah, I had some good friends over there. I haven't seen them for a long time. Chris and Marianne, they live back there. They always have to be turned on to Belmont. They're back there about half a mile, maybe on the right.
She lives on the other side of Mummasburg.
Oh,
Yeah, she lives in between Mummasburg and Goldenville.
oh,
She's like one of the last couple houses, probably the last half mile of the houses that are still in Franklin Township over there before it turns into Butler. So, but yeah, she said to me yesterday, she goes, I just feel like coming outside and doing something. And I said, so Mom, because her driveway's paved, I said, go back to the end of the driveway back a couple of times, it's good for you. I said, I don't know.
we can take it loose.
Oh, I know, that's what the.
Because they sold it, they
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, I said, don't go out and rake or anything, cause she goes, well, there's some stuff I can rake up. I said, no, I know you feel good. But I said, no. I said, don't push that, it's on uneven ground.
Yes.
And I
still
said,
don't even know.
I would prefer that you just walk up and down your driveway right now. I said, when you see Dr. Fenwick on Wednesday, so for now, just stay on even ground.
Yeah.
I said, you're better that way.
Now, does she have close neighbors?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And she would fall outside so they could see
Oh,
her.
yeah. And her sister lives like maybe a half mile down the road from her.
Oh, good.
And so she comes up at least once a day. She just walks on the doors if I go back. But anyhow, she tripped over a vacuum cleaner like
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah.
And she hurt her knee now. So I had to go get mom's walker. It was before mom started driving. And I had to take the walker up to my aunt and give it to her. So
She would have torn the muscles or something.
I told her, I said, Mom, tell her she needs to go to urgent care, not the family doctor. Well, no, she really listens to me.
She probably needs an extra
So,
CAT scan or something. Do
They-
you need another walker? Cause I have one in the
oh,
house.
my mom doesn't need it.
Oh,
She doesn't
okay.
even use a cane. No, she doesn't even use her cane. She's walking totally, and she hardly walks with a limp.
That's good.
So, yeah.
Now, how's your dad doing?
He's doing okay. He's still clear from his prostate cancer.
Oh, that's good.
His back's still killing him.
No. Is that from the cancer?
No. He has just degenerative discs, and it's hereditary, man. My grandma was the same exact way. His Aunt Betty, my grandmother's sister, she's the same exact way.
Yeah. I can't do anything
You
for
know,
her.
and there's really nothing that they can do for it, so he just, you know, he can't stand very long.
Well, it's good cancer's cleared out.
Yeah, exactly, so I'm taking my nephews with me when I go down next week. So,
That'll be good. How old
yeah.
are they again?
13 and 11.
They're old enough to kind of watch out for
I
themselves.
said, let me tell you something, boys. I said, Tap hates that he can't go out and do all this stuff with us. You know, he can't go to the trampoline park, even though we go sit and watch, he doesn't even want to do that. He didn't go when we went parasailing. My stepmom and I are taking this year to a place that has paintball and axe throwing and mini golf. and
Philadelphia
go-karts.
has throwing.
Yeah.
So
So,
the Wayne's spot now.
Dad can't go do that. So I said, look, I hunted for something that we could all do together. He'll go do the escape room that they've done.
Kids love
So
that.
I said, look, there's this place, and I said, I've done it before, and you guys like making gingerbread houses, so you might like this. I said, it's a pottery place, and they have pottery already made, and
Oh, yeah.
you pick what you want, and then they give you markers and paint and all sorts of stuff, and
Yeah.
you decorate your own whatever you pick out.
Yeah.
I said, I've done it numerous times before.
I love that.
Because my niece is and it's great, and my dad said, yeah, I'll go do that. So I said, even if you don't want to, you're gonna pretend that you like it, you understand? And they're like, no, shit, we'll probably do that.
Especially a 13-year-old.
No, that's pretty good. And his mother said, I wish he'd be like an engineer when he grows up. Some sort of mechanical or electrical engineer, because she said, my God, his mind is just geared that way.
For college.
Yeah. And so
They're really
he's,
smart.
you know what he told his mom? He goes, Mom, I'm gonna own my own business. I don't even know if I'm gonna go to college. I said, well, I'll talk to him and I'll let him know he needs to go to college. So
Yeah,
he
it does
can figure out how to
especially the business, because the business go down, people want to go with,
I said,
that's for sure.
I said, he needs to go to college.
And at least, you still got, you didn't have one sister, right?
Mhm.
So she has what, two boys?
She's got 2 boys.
Two boys, where are the girls from?
Andy's side.
Yeah.
His sister lives out in Wisconsin. She has 2 girls. They are 20 and 18.
Oh,
One's a sophomore at Butler University and the other one's a senior in high school. And then his brother who lives in Gettysburg has 3 kids. And his oldest would have been a sophomore in college this year, but he didn't go back. He's taking a gap year.
Yeah, it doesn't work. He's done.
Yeah. And then,
Maybe not.
Then
Don't
he's
you go
got-
to tech school?
then he's got one that is a senior in high school and one that's a junior in high school.
Oh, you're all good.
So
used to be advertising on
Yeah.
TV.
She went to that one, because they had them all over the place around here. So she went to that one, and she got the business to cut hair, and she started cutting hair. And then she said, I think I'd like to go back and get my teaching license. So she did that, and then she taught at their school in Hanover. And then they said, hey, would you manage one of our salons where we send the girls out to, do like their own stuff and oversee it and cut hair. So she managed one over in Chambersburg. And then she got married, and her husband got a job down in Newark at
Empire.
Empire. So she ended up moving to Newark, but she ended up then going to YTI and getting a job there as like one of their outside recruiters. So they're temporary.
Yeah.
And then that, she moved up the ladder down there and was in a managerial position down there. And was a liaison to the community where they placed kids then coming out of the tech programs.
Yeah.
And then somebody else bought it out after I don't know how many
Yeah.
years, and they paid for her to go away along with a whole bunch of other staff.
My nephew went down there. The neighbor police thing.
Oh, yeah.
He's Washington County Sheriff.
Oh, they had one up in Mechanicsburg, campus up there.
That's where I went to school.
And they taught me or talked me into going up there and teaching for a while. Or they just look part-time.
Yeah. Yeah, Bobby's still on 4 years from Frostburg.
Okay.
She moved out, know what she wanted to do. And then she come back. She went, paid everything. She went out. It was great. So she said, Dad, I want to go to culinary school. He said, you know there? She said, no, she's not a problem, I know. He said, bank's closed. My students did there and helped me with that. She had a good job now. I don't know had anything to do with what she was school for.
Yeah. No, Shelley's actually, she actually works for, Central New York School District now. And she runs their program where their kids that have, an IEP, an individual education program. So she actually helps place them out in the community in part-time jobs and internships and stuff. And then she coaches their unified track team down there.
That's nice. And they live in New York.
Okay. Yep. And then this year she coached cross country for the middle school. And of course her son went out for cross country and he almost didn't. He's like, no, I don't want to, he was my coach. And she's like, just shut up. Just don't worry about it.
Bobby's granddaughter, she's a wonderful little soccer player. She's 15. She'll be 50. Yeah, she'll be 15. The other one just turned 11. And she played soccer for a couple years. And then her mother decided she needed to go to Maria Gray School in Hagerstown. Yeah. So she went there. And then she was playing golf. Oh, good little golfer.
Nice.
But she just told us she's taking lessons Western. Her Bobby's actually writes English. And Annabelle wants to ride Western. She's going to learn racing. She's not in golf anymore. And the coach told her how good she was at it. So she wants to keep her out racing. She's in golf and all. So straight A's in school, so that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I said, very good. I said, you want to go to college? She said, you got good choice.
That was just it. And when I was a kid growing up, I mean, I didn't even think about that. I was just like, well, I'm going to college.
I didn't go. I just went for air, Texas.
You know, I mean, it just,
I went to Shermanstown. My 30-year career. Made good money.
yeah.
Made good money. I hope it runs out. Guys, who knows what happened if I came down here?
Well, yeah, just asked me if it was gonna be quick.
Someone's walking at the door.
I haven't been here for a good while.
What was that, did you hear that?
Mostly.
Fires in the mountain.
Oh, it's probably.
Someone go pull a fire alarm.
Probably a heater over in my room.
Ready to come in.
What's that truck outside? No, that's my heater.
Is that loud? So what are we over here at the house?
You know, they had a lot of ones, they didn't know what this was for.
Yes, no, I heard that up the house. here.
Yeah,
I don't know, but
Chris is working right now.
is that recent? I'm just calling my lights on me.
Yeah, yep, Bruce's working right now.
You do a good job.
Thank you.
You always.
Listen,
you
you
know,
always says that.
Well, I'll tell you what, because of what he did for 4 years.
Right.
You know, he sees what needs to be done
Yeah.
and which, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm good with this way. I could be worse if I didn't do anything.
Me too.
Yeah.
What I mean, I'm a friend sits and plays words and watches TV all day, so you
I
should
couldn't
me.
do that. I couldn't do
No
that.
way. That's old as bad, I still got to look.
Nah,
I love it.
couldn't do that.
Even though Bobby thinks I'm still like 20. He said, Bobby, I can't lift that 200-pound board.
That's okay, we're putting you forward in our basement now.
What?
We're putting you forward in our basement.
Oh, you're right.
Even though we built a whole house together.
You know this?
Yeah.
It's not this really sunny.
The laminate that snaps together, this is glued down,
You
ours
are
snaps
sweet.
together. It's waterproof, whatever.
This old water comes from out there in our house down here. Floods it, comes straight out that door.
What on earth are they talking about?
Everything like, it's zoning, it's zoning. It's like, multiple citations.
Did you forget we were having a meeting?
Got things to do.
We got things to do anymore.
Like kegerator.
Did you forget we were having a meeting? Get her up there.
No, Mickey did.
Sorry for the extended length of the meeting
Oh,
here.
we'll forgive you this time.
We're opening the regular meeting back up now, it's 6:35. So the next thing on the agenda is the 2650 Bullfrog Road ongoing zoning violations. Is that the McMaster one? What's the address of McMaster?
No, 2657 is up, pretty sure. I
So
don't know.
50 is an answer?
Well, I think that's the wrong address.
Yeah, that's my best, this is 3257.
Yeah.
Let's just go McMaster's and Otter.
Yeah, whatever they are.
Alright, so, I'm gonna make a motion that we extend the, 60 days to Bev Ott, for her property cleanup on Bullfrog Road till, April the 31st.
Okay.
And
We want to also send her a letter, indicating that she has until the 31st of April to address the violations, and, if not, we'll take further action at the May meeting.
All right, so as of now, freeze the violation and grant her an extension,
Yes,
and
Yeah.
I'll notify PMCA.
yes, that's.
So that's your motion?
that's my motion.
And I'll second that.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the second one is, Mr. McMaster property. I want to make a motion that we give, our zoning officer authority to go and have a warrant drawn up to search the property and to move forward with violations and take it to court.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, road department report. Okay. Well, the month of February, we did a lot of plowing, and us getting February is a pretty hard month with ice and snow out on the roads and the trees coming down again. So we had that happen quite a few times, and we had 5 call-ins, or 6 call-ins for the month for trees down the road and iced up roads. I also met with Will Cameron about the old Waynesboro Bridge. We had our inspection on that, and we reviewed the inspection report. The recommendations are for us to replace the bridge top paving area with some kind of membrane fabric to try to keep the water from seeping down through and hitting the beams and busting the beams out below. It's quite a few things they found. That we have issues on that bridge, but they said it's still stable, and I did assure him that we already have plans for 2022 to address most of those issues in-house, and some of them we're going to have to get quotes on to have some of the bridge work done, especially the paving. We won't be able to do that. I met with Jim Lesher. Jim Lesher is our District 8 rep from PennDOT. We met last week and discussed the Bullfrog Road projects over there and a couple of the other different projects that we had on our list for 2022. His recommendation is we focus on McLaughlin, with ditching the upper part of McLaughlin and putting number 4 stone in there on the east side of the road and try to stop that water coming down that road. It's actually froze the road up and the road is busted apart. He thought was going to have our bid packets back by tonight, but we didn't get them, so we can't put them out for bid yet. But he is working on a bid packet for us to put 9.5 millimeter 2-inch compacted blacktop on that road once we repair the base, and he's recommended we farm all of this out to the contractors because he thinks it's too much for the township to handle. We're going to be doing the lower half also with the 9.5 compacted at 2 inches, and then we'll seal that after it's done. We did flagger training course, myself, Bobby, and Bruce. I did that last week. I went up to Harrisburg to the PSAT building and took the course, and all 3 passed the course, so it's a 3-year certification for your flaggers. So thanks again, guys, for going out there and taking that. Ordered salt, the salt came in on 2/9/22. It's still out our order for our salt contract for 2021, so we don't have to worry about that. And we've already started the bidding process and the contract process for salt for 2022. Also installed a new plow blade on the 550 truck this past month. Did some cold patching on the roads a little bit, not a whole lot because it's just popping right back up and the roads are thawing and freezing. Also went into to AgCom, set up an account with AgCom for us to purchase next year magnesium chloride. We're going to try to use some of that on our roads as a hot mix for our ice, because our regular salt does not break it and unthaw the ice below 32 degrees. But this chloride mix is good to 0 degrees, so hopefully we can get better penetration with that. We did do, myself and Bobby worked over on McLaughlin last week.
Yeah.
For a day. We cut a ditch along the east side of it about, I don't know, 12 inches.
Oh,
At least 12 inches.
Yeah.
To help the water flow down that instead of out on the road. That's only a temporary fix until the spring comes, and then we're going to be going, per the state recommendation, another 8 to 10 inches and stoning that down through there. Like I said, we had 6 call outs in February due to ice and trees on the roadway. We also had wires on Topper Road here down one night, and we also had a telephone pole snap. We ended up having McLaughlin shut down for a 24-hour period a couple of weeks ago. We drove 1,010 miles. We used 77.3 gallons of gas, 50.1 gallons of on-road diesel, and 26 gallons of off-road. I also met with the property owners for some of the driveway issues that we have. We sent out letters last month to the water that's running out and freezing on the road, so they did call, and I have been meeting with them individually and discussing options to fix those problems that we have. Let's see what else we had here. They did the call, as Sherry indicated today, from the Hagerstown Ford, that the transmission should be coming in by the end of the week, and they're hoping to try to get it put in at the end of this week or beginning of next week with the police cruiser. That's what I have for the road department. Planning board. Planning board and I have a meeting for this past month. We didn't have anything to report. They do have a couple of things that they asked the township to look at. SEO, whether, the new proposal for the monastery, it's over on Water Street, is, putting in a ice house. And, anyhow, we have not seen the plans and stuff for that, so I think Wendy reached out to them, to Hamilton Dam today to get us included in those plans, because that land, sits partially in Liberty and partially in, Hamilton Dam. Most of the construction is going on in Hamilton Dam, but there are still a couple places in Liberty, so if they cross the boundary lines, we need to be aware of that, not after the fact, we need to be aware of it before.
I'm not so sure they have,
Well, that's where I was aiming off.
according to some of the neighbors there that I've spoke to. So we need to, who's policing that or checking the zoning and inspections and?
It's,
That's Hamilton Dam.
That's what I
William
thought.
Hill is their engineer at Hamilton Van who's working on that. We do have an open plan with the monastery, it's a joint plan, for construction on the project, and there's actually a bond.
Yeah, that's
A surety
construction.
bond on that that's still open. It's an ongoing project. They said it will take more than a decade. I spoke to the engineer, for the monastery, and he was pretty amicable about keeping us included. They're gonna give annual reports to both municipalities on the progress of the construction from year on
Right.
out. So I'll pass whatever I got, along to the planning commission for the March meeting, and then we'll go from there. If they have any recommendations for the board to do anything or look at anything.
Well, didn't,
We need to take a walk up
huh?
there. We need to take a walk
Yeah.
on the backside.
They don't want you to take a walk.
That's all right. We got parking up there.
Okay, yeah, I do know we probably could, have, our zoning guy, he probably could go up and verify that that trailer that was there temporarily was removed. I believe they said it
I'll
was.
check with that. I feel like I already did that with him a couple months
Yeah, you
back.
check
I'll check my files on the temporary.
And he could also look and see if there is a building that's not been, reported within Liberty Township, he can,
Okay, on
report
Liberty,
back.
I'll just have him,
They've
check the
been doing
Liberty
good work
Township
excavating
side.
up there.
yeah, so that's where we're at on that, and the planning board, like you said, the planning board will be getting those things and, hopefully keep us, in the loop of what's going on.
Yeah, they can review that at the next meeting. The engineer did send the plans over to me by
Yeah.
email.
And I do know as far as those nuns up there, they are, recluse, the nuns, they're not allowed to intervene with public at all. And we need to be cautious that we don't violate their religious, liberties by encroaching on them when they're documented and no contact.
Oh, I understand. I certainly respect that.
So we can't just go walking in on the
No,
property.
no, I'm talking about around back. There's other properties that lead up to that. And like I said, they had a big track go up there working for a while, so.
So. 500.
And it's probably still in Hamilton Band would be my guess, but they're getting close to the,
Yeah, it may be, All right, that's all for the planning board and secretary treasurer, Wendy, you're
I
up.
just want to report the ongoing issues that I'm having with the payroll in QuickBooks, not downloading properly. I do have, an appointment on Thursday with a, QuickBooks, expert, whatever they call them, just trying to get that addressed, because I've been manually calculating everyone's taxes for their paychecks. So, since we're paying for a subscription for payroll through Intuit at QuickBooks, it should get it working. So, that's
And
it.
they're starting to charge us another fee, right?
No, we already have this fee, we pay an annual fee for that, to produce all the reports and get the tax tables. It's just, not working properly. I did upgrade the QuickBooks because they said 2019 wouldn't be supported anymore. So we did get a discount on that through SEK, and it was, so we did get, yeah, there'll be an annual fee after this. I was talking about the QuickBooks instead of the one-time fee. You used to pay $500 and it used to be good for 3 or 4 years.
Correct.
Then they don't offer that anymore, and now everything, as the world is moving forward to online subscription services, you can't just buy a product, you have to subscribe to it. That next year, we'll talk about that at budget time, what that's gonna cost us.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah, that's all I have.
All right, old business, we can consider a motion to award the waste contract. The other municipalities, in this group has already went ahead at their last meetings and went ahead and awarded the waste contract. I know Mr. Lisco sent out a couple of things earlier, here today, if you had a chance to review those. But that's what we have before us tonight. The contract is being awarded to Parks, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Parks, waste, the waste management was in on it, Parks was in on it, I think that was the only two, and, Parks came in, as a low bidder on that, so the other municipalities went with Parks. So I'm gonna make a motion that we also follow suit with the other 4 municipalities and also join the contract. And this is a 3-year contract, is that correct, Barbara?
It's a 3-year contract, but you have the right to renew it on the same terms for a 4th year.
Correct. And then I think with a 7-day notice, you can withdraw from it if you have reason to withdraw.
No, you don't, no, you can withdraw from it at any time, just
Oh.
give them 7 days notice.
Individually, you're talking about.
Individually.
An individual township.
Yeah.
You don't even need a reason. So,
Okay,
those were some pretty favorable terms that you usually don't see
right.
in contracts, especially that one.
And we're gonna be doing option 1, if I was correct.
Yes, it's option 1. Parks.
Option 1, which if you look on your pieces of paper there, you got in front of you, option 1 is standard bag service of 12 bags. You have, collection and disposal of, including large items, covered devices, recycle, drop-off events, and bi-weekly recycling. That yearly cost, for Parks is $303, for that per customer. And in the standard per bag service, the 12 bags is at $60. And there's 27 bags per, 27 customers that does the bag. We even have a breakdown of that. Additional bags are $5 a piece. And then the wheel totes per year is $24 a year. You have an option to use their tote, and you have to pay that $24, or you can have your own, and you won't get charged up to $24. So, that's the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, last thing on the old business is this cable franchise fee. Well, I don't really want to mess with that. Anyhow, Mr. Lisco, I think you made some recommendations on that before.
Well, I sent, a letter, or a copy of a letter, I don't remember now, that I sent for one of my other townships, and I think that.
We discussed it at the, 2 meetings ago, and then I realized we never really did anything, because who was gonna follow up, there was no clear thing on that, the board didn't really decide, we just listened to your recommendations. I was trying to see if the board wanted to follow up on your recommendations, and maybe have you reach out, or one of us reach out and have them amend their proposal. We didn't follow through with your
Well, okay,
recommendations.
well, all right,
We just
well,
discussed them.
I'm not sure if I did this, but I can revise that letter, and we can send it out to them.
Okay, and request,
That
they
they
amend.
modify the contract.
Okay, that sounds good. And then we'll
Okay.
review it at the April meeting, if we have any response back, or just update it.
When does our current contract?
August, I think it is.
Yeah, it's August. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion, we have Mr. Lisco revise a letter for them, stating the conditions that he,
The revisions.
revisions, yes. Do I have a second for the motion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, public comment for new business. Do we have anybody on the line for public comment?
Anyone there?
Does anyone want to public comment?
I just have 2 things. The website's still saying that no one can come here to the meeting, that the only way you can attend is through that, so if that can be changed, that'd be appreciated. The second thing that I want to bring up is the intersection of Stoops Road and Bullfrog. It's been a dangerous curve ever since I've been alive. I know that it's horrible. I know, I've been looking here at the PA General Assembly, Act 69, 1933, where it says that the township can actually acquire or the main property lands adjacent to that road to make it not a dangerous curve and widen the roads and provide a free and unobstructed view over lands. So my question is, can we do something with that intersection to, whether it be raise a hump on the other side so that you're not, when you go around that turn and you're coming up and you do that dip and you're on the curve, that's the most dangerous curve in this whole county, I think, in my opinion. And now that we have big trucks and dump trucks running back and forth on that, it's even worse.
Have you had any reports of accidents though?
I think we had one last year out there, and I think it was more, because of ice or snowy conditions. No, we don't. I do know though that, the speed limit out there on that road is 35, and we do run speed out there sometimes, not right on the curve, but Mr. Faribault allows us to sit there in his driveway a little bit further down towards the bridge. So we'll sit down there, and then sometimes we sit down at Girl Scout and Bullfrog, and run speed down there. We do get some speed coming up through there, so that's part of the problem. But no, I don't get many accidents there. But it surprises me that we don't get a few, just because of how fast people travel.
Mr. Lisko, what is the procedure if the township wanted to try to do something, to address something like that, as far as obtaining the land from the landowner to address that issue?
Well, the first thing I would do is approach the landowner, see if he's willing to dedicate the land to you free of charge. If not, and you want to pursue it, then the first step is you have to file, kind of like you did tonight, file a motion that you want to start eminent domain and condemnation. You have to send the landowner 10-day notice that you're going to go out and get it surveyed. You'd have to have a survey go out and state how much land you need to eliminate the hazard. Then you have to get it appraised. And then you have to file what's called the declaration of taking and condemnation. And if they don't object to the declaration of taking within 30 days, then you deposit the appraised amount with the court, and you can go on there and actually do the work to eliminate the hazard. If they do object, then you have to have a hearing on whether it's necessary to condemn his land to eliminate the curve. But if he doesn't object, then, and he's not satisfied with what we're offering to pay him, then there's a board of review appointed. And I think one has to be an attorney, one might have to be a real estate guy, and then another can be an ordinary citizen. You go before that board of review, you present evidence, and they decide. Then either side can appeal that to the Court of Common Pleas in Adams County, and then they would decide. So that's a brief summary of all the, of the beginning to end. But in most situations, I found that, if you go to the person, and I don't know how much land you would need. Is it a farm there? Is it a house there?
No, it's a road that's right along a creek,
Yeah.
and,
It's got a pretty good hump, and then goes into a curve.
So it's like if you could raise the one side so the curve was on a flat, it wouldn't be it, you know what I mean? Like
See, that's the thing, we have to, that's nothing we can do, we can't do that, we would have to get engineers in there
right.
yeah.
and let them do something like that too.
Yeah, that would be a major undertaking,
I
really.
understand that.
It's not just simply
Oh, I know.
fill it in and put some asphalt on.
Yeah.
There's a lot involved with that.
I understand that.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money too.
Yep.
Well, if you're seriously thinking about doing it, I think you should have, I don't know how, KPI, do they have a traffic engineer, do they have someone?
Yeah.
You might wanna have them.
You
go out.
definitely have your traffic study, I knew.
Yeah, have them go out and make a recommendation as far as what's the best way to eliminate the, I'm not familiar with the intersection, so I don't know, but. to
Well, that's why I
eliminate-
asked about accidents, because normally the way state does that, the priority of doing stuff like that is based on accident driven.
No,
I mean,
you're right.
accidents you've had there,
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
I can go
Public
back and look,
safety.
and I can also contact PSP, because if we're not on duty, that's who would be,
Right.
see what they have, they might have had
That'd
something
be good.
there.
Yeah, we probably should start there first to see if
Yeah.
we can justify going to him and saying, hey, you know what, there's an issue here, this is a safety issue we
Right.
have, we've done some checking, and this is, we have X amount of accidents here, and, I know another thing they usually ask too is how many fatalities and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we can look at it, that's the only thing we can tell you right now, is we can look at it and see where we can get, that don't never get anywhere, but we can certainly give it a shot and see what happens.
Well, the other thing I can do for you too is when I do go out there to run speed, I can keep better track of, even if it's not somebody that we're pulling over because they've, you know, gone fast enough for us to pull them over, but I can just sit there and jot down in an hour or two's time frame what everybody's speed is that comes through there at different times of the day too.
Hey, 'cause you can actually do the speed count,
Mhm.
and you can drop the speed accordingly.
Yeah.
10 miles one way or the other, isn't it?
Right. I can do that.
Well, Chief, let me ask you this, like I said, I'm not familiar with the intersection.
Right.
Is it a problem because people are speeding, or is it a sight distance problem even if you're not speeding?
Both.
Okay, so.
And, yeah, I'd say sight distance problem, but also,
Well, the faster you
Yeah,
go,
but that's only
then the
one
less
way.
time they have to
yeah,
see.
one
yeah.
way it's a sight distance problem from
Right.
coming around that
Right,
curve.
come,
Oh, around.
on Bullfrog.
Yeah, not, if you're going towards McLaughlin, I don't think it's so much of a sight problem that way as
During
it's
the
coming
day,
the
at
other
night
way.
it's not.
Yeah.
I don't think it is at night. During the day, I think it is. You usually don't get to see the headlights or anything like that.
Yeah, we can look into it and see what we can, how we can better do it. Sounds like we can do.
Works for me.
Anything else? All right, now we're going to go on to new business here. Consider a motion to adopt the Adams County National Bank Resolution 2022 to change authorization check signers.
Yeah, can we make that retroactive to January 3rd? As you know, that, well, as you know, we did speak to the bank back in November, and they told us we had all the paperwork in place until they received the check, 3 signatures, and then they made that statement, that we need an additional resolution, so,
Okay,
thank you.
the motion's made.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I have the, well, Wendy has a copy for us to sign right here on the table, so we'll get that done before we leave tonight. Now, B is consider a motion to comply with the Adams County National Bank request completing certification regarding the beneficial owners of legal entity.
Now, I actually have a problem with that. Mr. Lisco did send a notice, he read the document, and, she has my name all over there, and I'm not going to be financially responsible for, what exactly.
Yeah, usually it's like, if it's a corporation, it's the chief executive officer.
Right.
If it's a partnership, it'd be the main partner. I really think it should be the chairman.
Yeah,
I mean, to me,
that makes no sense.
the chairman's more like the CEO of a corporation.
So do we want to kick this back to
We
them?
can approve it with that change if you don't have any other issues with it, and then I can have her redo the form.
Mr. Lester, do you have any other issues with that?
No, I don't, I read the resolution, it's a pretty standard resolution. I just didn't think that a secretary is a chief officer of the
No,
township,
I'm
it's
not
the
sure.
chairman, you know. So I think it should be the chairman.
All right, so we'll make the change to the chairman of the township, is the chief executive officer, and we'll sign it accordingly. And Wendy, take Wendy's name off as the chief executive officer. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. All right, we have C, consider a motion to adopt a resolution, the 2022 tax collector fee.
And I do want Mr. Lisco to address that.
Yeah, I was saying, Mr. Lister, can you give us some enlightenment on that? I think there's a debate about if it's a resolution or an ordinance.
Look, I'm only going by there was a case, it's an old case, and it's also cited in the 2018 tax collector's manual. They say you need to do this by an ordinance rather than a resolution. And some tax collector got in trouble with the Ethics Commission for an ordinance not being passed authorizing the collection of these fees. That's my main issue. As far as $20, I don't know what's reasonable. I don't know how much time you spend on doing one of these things.
That's what it is across the board, that's what everybody charges.
Everybody's charged, all right, well, if that's what everybody's charging, that's fine. I just think it needs to be, and I sent a copy, of the tax collector's manual where they say we need to do it by resolution. By ordinance rather than resolution. So, and again, I don't wanna, we can do the ordinance next month, we can make it retroactive to whenever you want it to be retroactive to, but it's kind of protecting you,
It is, and the weird thing is nobody's ever asked for it. There's just one, I'm only deal with 3 different companies, and one just asked me for it this year. I've never had anybody ask me for it, and I'm like, if you have anything like this, I guess the previous tax collector never even had an ordinance. So,
she was just charging it.
yeah, because otherwise it would be it would reflect upon whatever the one has been in place for years. They said, we don't care if it doesn't have your name on it, we just need to say the tax collector was collecting this fee, and that it's, in writing somewhere on a resolution or an ordinance. And we couldn't find one, so therefore I guess you're right, an ordinance needs to be created.
Yeah,
And-
well, the ordinance there were some changes that Wendy picked up. I think the resolution just said mortgage company, but you probably get a lot of title companies calling too, I would think, and maybe even attorney's office
Yeah.
calling for.
The company that's asking for it mainly does the duplicate, that's what just the $5, that's what they're after. But yeah, I deal with a lot of mortgage companies too, and they do the tax certification fees, and title companies, you are correct.
Yeah, so I might wanna change that, I will change that in the ordinance. So I would just say table this till next month and I'll prepare the ordinance.
Do you know how long it will take to pass the ordinance then? Because this company wanted it by like April 18th.
Oh,
Because they send their tax bills
Well,
to
we
me.
would do it
And they
first of
pay
April.
my,
we'll do it first of April.
they send me fees, so,
Yeah, our next meeting.
okay.
Yeah, we only have to advertise it, it's not like a zoning where you have to advertise it several times. We just need to advertise it once 7 days before April,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
And I'll get,
Alright,
I'll
so
get
do
it.
you need a motion to move forward with that if we're gonna be advertising?
Yeah, make the
Let's make the
motion to
motion.
do it by ordinance rather than resolution.
I'll make a motion
Thank
that we
you.
do it by ordinance then.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Cool, thank you. D is consider a motion to adopt resolution 2022 authorizing non-CDL drivers, during the winter emergency to operate the snowplows. Right now, it's myself and you, and we both have CDLs. The only one that doesn't have a CDL at this time is Bruce. So this would apply to him when he comes in during the winter time to drive the truck.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to take care of that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And the last thing we have, I thought I had that was, okay. Last thing we have is septic program pumping inspections. You got them before you, the list of remaining places that are, some of them with the stars by them, say they have already pumped, we just do not have
There it is.
the septic companies have not supplied us with letters
Yes.
of compliance. And maybe some of these other ones that are not, it may be the same thing, because we have some of the septic companies that are holding these pumping certificates for 30, 60 days.
Well, according to our agreement and our ordinance, they have 30 days to hand it in. And since our deadline, our third deadline was February 12th with Jessica, we're gonna wait until March 12th and call the septic companies to see if they have anything outstanding. And then, I guess April will present a list of what we intend to move forward on and then the board can decide at that time if they wanna move forward with citations.
All right, so I make a motion that, we give them to April 12th, let them let the girls contact the septic company and see what.
What?
March.
March 12th.
We're just, you don't need a motion, but this is just a report, and we'll discuss it again at the April meeting. We're just letting you know, how many were there, 60?
62.
62.
Yeah,
But
some of
to
them are still.
let you know, I mean, we started out with, 400 some people that didn't pump, right?
I think it's 500
Of 500, and then they got letters, and people really started pushing it out. As Mr. Barley, you saw how they started coming in pretty fast. When
Oh,
we
yeah.
told them they would get a $1,000 fine,
Yeah.
so.
Well, and so I was going over the list here with Jessica earlier. I knew some of these people had pumped, I've seen them being pumped, and they're still on this list. And then you have Victor Barkley here, he's dead, so he ain't pumping nothing.
What's that?
Victor
you
Barkley,
know that
153 North,
He
Cecil.
did. Well, okay, so some
He's not
people,
here
now, he's
anymore.
not, who whoever owns the property now.
I think it's in short sale.
I think it was sold, or I know, but I think it's
So
sold.
that's where we probably have to check in on that. Like I said, some of these other ones on there has been in here and talked to us about this. Yeah.
That's what the stars are for, is when she's married to someone.
I usually read it.
Mr. Stem said he's coming to talk to you?
No.
Oh, he was in here quite a few times.
Who's that?
Terry Stem.
One on Janet today.
But anyhow, reach out and, to the pumping people and encourage them to, get their septic systems
Yeah, to put
done.
their forms in.
Yeah, another issue, like Wendy and I were talking about, is, we understand that haulers holding some of these forms, because if these people aren't paying their bills.
That's true. I was told by the hauler.
They've been pumped, but they're not paying bills, so they're not sending
That's
those forms.
correct. Some of the haulers have told me they're not sending the reports because people have not paid their bill. So they may have called and had it pumped, but they didn't pay the bill to the hauler, and the hauler's not gonna send the report in with $10 fee.
Right, like I say, I know a lot of people.
So
that
they
do
could
that.
have had it pumped, but if they haven't paid their bill, that's where it stands.
All right, well, that's what we do, March the 12th, and then
So we'll
we'll,
report again in April how we went forward, and then you can decide if you wanna issue citations.
what's the April meeting? Do you know what the April meeting is?
Got the second, I think.
Second?
Yeah, by then, hopefully we'll have her back and have everything.
No, it will be the 4th. No, 5th. We're doing Tuesdays,
Correct.
5th.
All right, April 5th, we'll make a decision on what we do.
And I encourage you, if you know anyone on this list, to give them a friendly reminder or to contact us if they have pumps. Because we also encourage people to let us know who the hauler was and what date it was pumped, and we will reach out to the hauler.
All right, because I know a lot of these people.
Right. And that's how we learned that the reason why some of them weren't giving us the forms is because some of the bills weren't paid.
All righty, so anything else, Mr. Supervisor?
Nope.
I'm looking for a motion for adjournment.
What time is it? It's
7:08.
7:08.
7:08.
Okay, and you're making a motion?
Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Make a motion for adjournment.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
7:08. Thank you guys, appreciate it. Thank you, Adam.
You have to see that master, you have this open list.